All right, everybody, how are you? My name is Traci Bates, and I am one of the members of the Bates Hennington Real Estate Group. I've been at the Keller Williams Larchmont office for, I don't know, since 2009, I think. Started out on the office in Westwood in West LA. So I'm happy to be teaching this class today. It's on seller appointments, which is really cool. I've never taught this class before, but it's, well, all the classes are important, but this is what you're trying to get to is a seller appointment. So this is like one of the most important classes. So let's get going. And what we're going to focus on today is making seller listing presentations and getting listings. Oops, hang on just a second. My phone was on. So the agenda for us today is going to be what sellers want, and we'll look at what sellers say they want and how that affects your conversations with them. And then we'll talk about before the appointment, what you do before the appointment. And the best listing appointments are continuations of an ongoing conversation. So we'll talk about how to prepare yourself and your future seller to get the most out of the listing appointment. And then one of the other things that we're going to talk about is the listing presentation. And we'll cover what a good listing presentation should achieve and how. And then we'll talk about the listing appointment. We'll talk about what you should do in your listing appointment to establish yourself as the local market expert and gather the information that you need to market and sell their home. So after today, you should be able to understand the expectations for a successful listing appointment and know where to find resources to get started. So does anyone have any questions so far? If not, we'll just dive into it. All right, so our next slide is how sellers found their agent. And according to the research from the National Association of Realtors, 39% of sellers either knew their listing agent or were referred to their listing agent by a friend, neighbor, or relative. That's a pretty significant amount. There are some that lets us know that there is some type of relationship going on in the majority of these listing agent client relationships. There was a relationship prior to. This is the highest percentage by far. 27% of buyers had used their listing agent previously to buy or sell a home. 5% chose their realtor after being personally contacted by them, and 4% found their agent through a website, and 3% found their agent by visiting an open house. The other 22% is made up of other methods like seeing a for sale or open house sign, a referral through another agent or through their office, direct mail, social media, things like that. So what we can gather from this is that your business really lies in your database. So what does this tell you about the importance of building relationships to getting listings? Would you be surprised to learn that 75% of sellers only contact one agent before selecting one? And I'll say that again, 75% of sellers only contact one agent before selecting one. And that 15% talk to two before selecting one. So that makes your first impression with the seller extremely important. And we'll go to the next slide. So what do you all know about the process of converting a lead to a listing? What tools have you learned about and used? Is anybody able to give me any insight into what you know so far? All right. Well, when you have a lead that has expressed interest in selling their home, there's a few steps that you take to convert the lead into a listing. And some of the steps are optional based on your personal style and how motivated the seller is to let you list their home. But in general, you're going to follow these steps. You're going to do a pre-listing questionnaire. So you're going to ask the potential seller the pre-questionnaire questions to determine their expectations, their motivation, and how soon they want to sell. And then you'll schedule the listing appointment. So after you understand how motivated the seller is, then you set the listing appointment. And then you send in advance of your meeting a pre-listing packet. So you can send it an email, you can snail mail it, you can hand deliver it on their doorstep. You want to send the pre-listing packet to set the seller's expectations of the process, or have a conversation to set the expectations. And we'll talk about that later. And then you want to create the listing presentation. And the listing presentation is more detailed about your plans to sell this particular listing. And talks about what you can do during the appointment to get the listing. And then you'll do the home walkthrough and listing appointment. So at the listing appointment, you'll walk through the house and possibly present the listing presentation and hopefully secure the listing. Each of these steps asserts your value proposition to the seller and brings them closer to signing with you. So we looked briefly at the listing presentation before, or you all did, in one of your Spark modules, working with the seller. So now we're going to do a deep dive into the listing appointment and the presentation. So before the listing appointment, you'll do far more listening than talking. You can't meet a seller's needs unless you know them, and you can't know them if you don't listen. So you want to show that you're attentive and interested in their needs by giving them plenty of space to tell you their history. So in Spark, you talked about identifying A, B, and C sellers. Who can tell me what it means to be a C seller? Anybody remember what a C seller is? Okay, a C seller is a seller who is able, ready, and willing to do business in 61 days or more. So they're a little bit further out. An A and B seller, or I'm sorry, a B seller is a seller who's able, ready, and willing to do business in 15 to 60 days. And an A seller is a seller who is able, ready, and willing to do business within 14 days. Do any of you remember this from your previous class?
Yes, I remember it. Yeah, I just forgot the how many days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear someone else's voice besides my own. Thank you.
Yeah.
A sellers have been thinking about selling their home for a bit. So those are the ones that are willing and ready to do business within the next 2 weeks. So they've been thinking about selling their home for a bit. So they have expectations about the pricing and the timeline that they want you to meet. Their expectations might be reasonable or they might not be, but the first step is discovering their motivation and time frame as well as their expectations. And you can always work with the seller to adjust their expectations once you know what they are. So again, the key is listening before you move forward. With the pre-listing goals, the goals that you have before you set the listing appointment. So once you've pre-qualified the seller and scheduled the listing appointment, you'll send the pre-listing packet. And you will find a pre-listing packet in your Ignite toolkit. You can customize that one, which is a really great and easy place to start, or you can create your own. I wouldn't suggest that you do that. I would go to the one that's in Command and customize that, or Michael Lewis Marketing Suite also has one that's a little bit easier to to update. It's not as difficult, and it has pretty much the same information. It's not as detailed, but if you want to get started with Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, it's mlms.com, I think, or put in Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, and those are free to you to be able to use. And then once you're comfortable, you can even have a conversation with your seller about the topics in the pre-listing packet. Understand the goals of the pre-listing packet and meet them in a way that works best for you. And the pre-listing packet has 3 critical roles. The first one is to state your value. So it states the value that you will provide as their listing agents. Remember that sellers have specific goals that they want to achieve. And so this is the first step in discovering their goals and telling them how you will help them achieve their goals. And then the other is pre-selling. It builds sellers' confidence and answers questions in advance of the presentation. So sellers use an agent because they want advice and expertise, and making them feel like they better understand the process is an important part of your value proposition. And then the other role that the pre-listing packet plays is saving time. The pre-listing packet tackles common obstacles to make the consultation shorter and smoother. And you want to, once you get into the listing appointment, again, short and smooth is kind of more the direction that you want to go. You don't want to be in a listing appointment for 2 hours going through every single page of the pre-listing packet that you sent. So you want to go through maybe just a couple of pages, which I think we'll take a look at shortly, and have them answer some questions or find out what the answers to their questions were in that packet so that you can move forward with a successful listing appointment. Okay. The next.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes, don't be sorry. Please ask.
The pre-listing package, does it include the CMA or no? The comparative marketing analysis.
It can include the CMA. It depends. Sometimes I'll put that in there. Sometimes I won't. We'll take a look at one. I'll ask Carly in a few minutes if I can share my screen, and I can show you one that I had created for a client, and you can see what's in there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the next slide is talking about the pre-listing packet, and I'm going to see if I can, hang on a second. Carly, am I able to share? Wait a minute, don't want to share this.
If you want to screen share, I can stop my screen share.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Okay, let me stop it for you.
Thanks. What do I do with that? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. So I'll share my screen so that you guys can see it. Are you guys able to see this where it says Francine and Daryl Lane?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is an example of one of the pre-listing packets that's in Command that you can customize. I would say that you should go in there as soon as you can and play around with it, because it takes a little bit of time to get used to how that part of Command works in designs. And you don't want to wait until the last minute to try and prepare this if you're going to use Command to do it. And there is also a class, a tutorial that you can find within Keller Williams University, I think, where it goes through a YouTube on how to prepare this. So you want to do that. But anyway, this is the pre-listing packet. You can upload it and send it as a PDF. There's also a website called issue.com, ISSU.com. You can create it digitally, so somebody can click it You can send them the link, they click onto it, and it opens up like pages. And you can also mail it to them. We do have hard covers that you can print this out, stick into a hard cover, and put in a little machine at work that glues the pages in there, and it's like a hardcover book. So it all depends on your method. When we were during the pandemic, everything was virtual. We weren't allowed to present anybody with any hard copies or documents of anything. So I use I think it's ISUU or ISSU.com, so that they could get a digital one. But the really hard printed copies are very nice. So here you just input the client's name. You get a selection of photographs that you can choose and drop in there. And then you can put in your headshot and your information. And I have our logo, Bates Huntington Real Estate Group, there. And here I had a picture of their house that I had taken. So there I dropped that in so that they could see their house as part of the presentation. You don't always have that opportunity. So you might want to, put something else in that slot. But there's the opportunity there. Here is a part in command where you can tailor it to the specific property that you're going on your presentation for. So it talks about the home size and how it compares to the other homes in the neighborhood. And you can see here, it talks about the average price per square foot in the neighborhood and the average days on market. So that gives them some kind of comparable information. This page is a great page. And again, you have your choice of photographs, so you can drop in any photograph you want. This is a pre-listing package, so you're providing this to the clients prior to the appointment. And so this is part where they have questions that they can answer that are helpful to you. So, you can change these questions. I wouldn't suggest that you do. I leave them in here. These are the ones that are defaulted in the presentation in command. So what's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality when it talks about visualizing your dream scenario for selling your home? So that allows them to answer that question so that when you get to the listing appointment, you can kind of go over this with them and have a better understanding. How can we make that happen for you? Why is it important? These are things that you want to know.
Hi, Traci.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for the I think the slide 2 with the information about like the property and like
This
that
one?
it has like, yeah, where did you get that information from? Like, is there a specific website for that type of stuff?
No, there really isn't. I went into the MLS. When you go into command, though, there is a tool in there that allows you to input the neighborhood, the zip code or the address, and it'll give you some of these rough statistics. They're not always as accurate. So I kind of did a comp on my own and looked at, I pulled, I don't remember how, probably was at least 5 homes that sold in the neighborhood in the last 3 to 6 months. And I came up with this myself.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So then here, we kind of changed it to the virtual process. I think it just says the process in command, but because everything had been virtual, we had to make that change. So we talked about the virtual walkthrough, officially listing your property. These are just all the steps of the process. So again, you're delivering this ahead of you showing up. So it kind of gives them some information to look at, think about, and develop some questions for you once you get there. And then this just is information about Keller Williams, which is great. You can talk about a marketing plan and how you're going to market it. This is already there for you to either keep or delete sections if you want, but we talk about how we're doing Facebook, Matterport tours, social media push, Instagram posts, stories, paid boosted Facebook ads. This lets them know how you're going to market their property, and then all of the promotional assets that you're going to use as well. And then strategic promotion goes through specifically what you're going to do. We do a coming soon campaign, or we did with this particular property. So this tells them what that looks like. And then a just listed campaign. And then this was our virtual open house strategy. We couldn't have people physically in the house. So this is what we let them know we were going to do to have a virtual open house. What else is super important in here? Oh, here is where you talk about yourself. So real experience, real expertise. And this is where I talked about myself and the presentation. Here's the value proposition. You can enter that information in. Here's where you can put how many clients you've served, how many years you've been in real estate. 30 years is a combined between Lorna and I. And if you don't, which you probably don't have all this information and want to put this in right now, you can delete this little box if you want to. Or you can indicate, if you're working on a team, what your team's experience is. And I would just put an asterisk at the bottom and say team statistics so that people know. Credentials and awards are good for people to know. They want to know all that. And then this just talks about how we are leaders in the industry. It's really great because all of this stuff is already in here for you. And like I said, you can add or delete pages. This was a page of testimonials that's part of it. And then this is a promise that's in there, which is really nice to hear. And again, you can change the pictures if you want. You can change this promise to something else. But it's kind of nice to hear we say to serve the community as a leader in the real estate industry and as a friend and neighbor, to always do the right thing, even if it isn't what is easiest, to take care of your needs at the highest level through unparalleled professionalism and attention to detail. No request is too small. To serve as a trusted local expert and advisor by your side, to consistently and clearly communicate with you in the manner and frequency that you prefer, to treat you and your family with straightforwardness, integrity, and respect at all times, to answer your questions, ease your concerns, reduce your stress, and expertly handle the entire real estate transaction from listing to closing and beyond, and to hold ourselves accountable to selling your home for top dollar. After all, that is what our business is built on. Now, we didn't write that. Keller Williams wrote that, and you all are welcome to steal it and put and keep that and include it in all of your pre-listing packets too. But it's something that we also believe in. We didn't feel the need. I don't think we changed it. If we did, we didn't change it much. We felt like that really summarized us as well. And then the bottom line talks about real estate being complicated, choosing us, and how we're going to help them. This is the back page of it. And then there's the information for them. So I'm going to stop my sharing now, Carly. I don't think I need to keep doing that. So do you guys have any questions on that?
Yes, is this under profile or under where you go to command? Where you find it?
It's in designs. It's
Design.
somewhere in designs. Yeah. And like I said, it's not as intuitive as you would want it to be. So making changes to it is pretty tedious until you get the hang of it. So I would suggest going in your spare time and playing around with it and going to the YouTube class so that you can really understand how to make the changes to it, because you're going to do some stuff that feels intuitive to you and it's not going to work with that. I know from experience. I think the first time I went in there, it took me like 2 hours to mess around with it. And I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but I'm not that dense either. So it's tricky to play around with. So I would suggest doing that. All right. So the pre-listing packet sets the stage for you to present the listing presentation, which contains specific information about the seller's home. The listing presentation contains your plan to market their house, comps to help them understand your pricing strategy, and all of the other information you need to show the seller that you can help them achieve their goals. The pre-listing packet contains information about selling a house generally, so that they're ready to understand and accept your plan for the home. So I believe you had asked a question. Is it Safwan? I believe you had asked a question earlier about, yes, about the pre-listing package containing comps. And so as the furthest that I got as far as comps go, in our pre-listing package, the one that I just showed you was telling them the average price per square foot, the average number of bedrooms and bathrooms. I didn't provide them with specific comps. I would suggest to wait until the actual listing presentation or listing appointment rather to do that. Because if you provide them comps up front, what follows that is usually what your suggested list price is based on the comps. And you don't want to get into that conversation with them prior to developing some rapport, understanding what their motivation is, and going through all of those steps so that there is some trust built before you move forward to that section in your listing presentation.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so next we'll talk about the listing presentation. And the listing presentation, the purpose of it is to get the seller to list with you. And you do that by doing three things. The first thing is to create a great impression to build the seller's confidence in you as their real estate agent of choice. And the second thing that you want to do is share your price recommendation, the initial list price for their property, and your reasoning behind it. So explain how you believe that the price is designed to get their home sold in the shortest amount of time and for the most money possible. And then the third thing is to set the expectations for how you will market the home with the sellers. So just like the pre-listing packet, you don't have to figure this out for yourself. There are 2 beautifully designed templates you can use in Designs in Command. And you've already looked at the listing presentation before, but now we're going to take some time to think about how you can use the listing presentation to show the seller while you're the agent that can help them achieve their goals. We're not going to go look at that listing presentation specifically. It's not that much from the pre-listing, not that different from the pre-listing packet, but what you want to make sure that you include in the listing presentation are the comps. So you want to look at the last 3 to 6 months, and you want to pull comps that are relevant to this property. Oftentimes, you don't know what the condition of the house is that you're walking into. So it's difficult and almost impossible for you to say up front, walk in the door and already have a price set in mind. What you should have in mind from the research that you've done on the properties that have sold in the neighborhood is an idea of what maybe some properties that need some work, what those sold at, some properties that were turnkey. Maybe they've been, completely remodeled and renovated. And then some properties that maybe it could use a little zhuzhing up. They aren't horrible, but, somebody's going to have to go in and maybe paint or change some tile or something like that. So you want to get kind of an idea of that range, that price range. And when you walk into the listing appointment, once you walk through the house and tour it, then you have an idea, okay, so this house is going to need a lot of work. So we're going to be at this end of what my comps that I'm going to show them are. Or, oh my goodness, they've done a lot to this property. They've renovated. It looks very updated. So we're going to be at the higher end of the comps. So you want to keep that in mind when you're going for your actual listing appointment. Is you're not going to walk in there and actually know what the price is right off the bat without having seen the house. If you have the benefit of seeing the house before and you have an idea, then that's one thing. But if you haven't ever seen the interior of the home, then you want to make sure that you're giving them comps that show the range and that you're pricing it within whatever category that house fits into. Do you have any questions? The next slide talks about your needs. And yeah, your needs come first. And this page is included and it's important. And it was in one, I think I read some of the questions in the presentation packet that I showed you. At the end of the day, the real estate business is a relationship business. And so this part of your listing presentation is about the relationship. It's extremely important. And doing this piece right will go a very long way into earning their current and future business. So when you present your listing presentation, get ready to take notes and listen. And we already went through those questions, but you want to make sure that you're asking those questions and you're listening. And if there's any follow-up questions that you think you can gather that are things of an importance that the seller has stated, then follow up with those as well. You want to have a conversation to really try and understand their needs, what their motivation is, how quickly they need to move. Are there any other moving pieces to the puzzle of listing and selling their home? Okay. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right, we're going to go to the home walkthrough. Carly, if you can go to that slide. Thanks. So when you arrive to the potential seller's home, it's important to establish yourself as a knowledgeable professional right away. So you want to greet your potential clients, thank them for the opportunity, and ask them if you can leave your things in the kitchen while you conduct the home walkthrough. And the reason why you want to, kind of go to the kitchen if they have a kitchen table, sometimes it's a dining room table, but you want to do that because the table provides a really great space to talk, and it's more familiar and intimate than the living room or some other sitting room. It's kind of like the heart of the home. So you kind of want to be in the heart of the home where there's good feels going on, where there's a place for you to set your things down and spread out and talk. Your home walkthrough is going to further inform what you'll write for the listing information, your marketing plan, and your pricing strategy conversation. So if at all possible, ask to do the walkthrough alone. It's best to come to conclusions without the homeowner's narration running through your mind. So you can just say to them, do you mind if I go ahead and take a walk through your home and I'll come back with any questions that I have, so that you can take notes and walk through and come back and sit down and have a conversation with them. You want to look through the home walkthrough survey in your toolkit when you get a chance to see if there's any questions or anything that you want to add, but it's pretty comprehensive. So you just want to make sure that you have an understanding. If you look at something and you have a question about it, then ask the question. When was the last time that you painted the interior? Or are those fixtures new? If you're on the exterior of the house, when was the last time you had any roof repair work done? Or have you had any plumbing issues? You want to ask all these questions so that you can have a really good understanding of the house. And then the final point of the listing appointment is getting the seller to sign with you. And there is a closing script. And let me see where it is. This is one of the scripts that you can use that's in your toolkit. So it says, after studying the comparables, taking into account the unique characteristics of your home and its setting, and using my knowledge of the averages in your neighborhood, I have prepared my recommendation. Remember that my primary goal is to net you the most money possible. And I believe this pricing plan matched with my marketing plan will draw agents and buyers to your home and position it as a highly appealing and highly competitive property. After looking at everything I've presented about the condition and the price, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with this price recommendation? Is this what you like to list your home for? Are you ready to make a decision to work with me? And then if they say yes, great. It sounds like we've got a price and we're ready to put a sign in the yard. Let's do it and get this house sold. So, that's kind of a script that you can use. There are other scripts that are in there. You want to tailor it so that it feels obviously natural to you. But pricing is going to be one of the things that they're concerned about. So you want to make sure that you have all of the comps and have done your homework so that you can talk to them about the price and they understand how you derived the price and didn't just pull it out of thin air. So does anyone have any questions at this point?
Yeah, let's say I'm not like an expert about updating the house, or can I just do a pre-inspection or appraisal, or does it help, or I don't know.
You're not an expert in understanding what the home looks like in terms of pricing. Is that what you're saying? I want to make sure.
Yeah, like in terms of updates, how much money they need to fix the plumbing or to fix the floor or something,
Well, you're not necessarily going to give them that recommendation. What you're going to do is tell them based on the current condition of the house, this is what I would recommend you list your home for. And what you're going to do is compare that condition to the comps that you've pulled. So when you pull comps on a property and a property has sold, the majority of the time, there'll be photographs of the homes that sold and there'll be photographs of the interior. So you can take a look at those photographs and get an idea of the condition of the home. And sometimes in agent's notes, it'll say something like just needs a little TLC, or on the other end, it might say fantastically updated and renovated, so those are things that you want to look at. And I wouldn't say you're going to give them an idea of what price would be to make any fixes that they want to fix. You're going to let them know what the price recommendation is based on what you're seeing. There's a completely different conversation that you're going to have if somebody is going to do some work on their home and they need recommendations. Then that's another conversation and a deeper dive.
Okay, so is that what I'm doing right now? Is that before the inspection or after?
So you're not necessarily, when a seller sells their home, most of the time they're going to sell it without doing a pre-inspection on their home, having a pre-inspection done. They don't usually want to come out of the pocket. It might be about $900, $700. It all depends on the size of the house. A pre-inspection to a house is a general inspection that the sellers would pay for, where an inspector comes in and goes through the house top to bottom and lets them know if there are any deficiencies. It gives a complete picture of the house. All sellers don't do a pre-inspection, so you may not have that opportunity to get that information. Buyers, when they make an offer on the house, once the offer is accepted, they do their inspections, and then you learn if there are any deficiencies at that point. There is a couple of rules of thought, but ideally, if your seller does a pre-inspection and you get that general inspection report back, you're aware of all the deficiencies and if there are any or upgrades, and can price the home accordingly. And so it gives you a leg up in that respect. You're also required to disclose that inspection to anybody who makes an offer. If your seller chooses not to do a pre-inspection up front, that's fine. They can still list the home. And when the buyers come in and do their inspections, they'll advise based on their inspections if there are any deficiencies, and they may ask for a credit to repair or negotiate the price.
Okay, thank you. Now it's very understandable.
Okay, good. Does anyone have any other questions? We've pretty much gone through this all, so we're not going to do any role playing or any scripts. So this is the point at which, you know, if you have any ahas or any remaining questions, go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, we'll end the session early. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for coming to class. Hope that you all got something from this. Please go to your toolkit and command, or please go to command and work on your pre-listing presentation, or go to Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. They have a couple in there as well that you can, that are easier to navigate. So you can start there as well. All right. Have a good week, everyone.
Hey, do you
Thank
mind
you.
putting the
Thank
link
you.
to that in the chat, maybe?
To what? Michael
You
Lewis?
said Michael,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Hang on, let me do that real quick before I go. Good idea. Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. There you go. So there's the link to Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. And you click on that, and he has all kinds of freebies in there that you can use. I'm trying to go to the page now to see where to tell you where the listing presentation is. There's actually a tab in there that says free stuff, and you go click on the free stuff tab, and there are all your listing presentation, buyer consultation presentation, all of that's in there. Okay, so thanks again, everyone, for coming. I'll also put my email address in here and my phone number. And if you have any questions about this or anything, and want to touch base, I'm happy to help. Have a good one, everybody.